Hello, friends. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Why don't you go down and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any episodes. As for my fans and subscribers, welcome back. I really do appreciate you. Today's topic is Jim Jones, trouble in California. Now, the last time they moved to California, so let's go. Ukiah was quiet but still had its charms. Jones expected the people to donate every penny they earned after finding work. He himself taught junior high and high school in civics and American history, while Marcelin found a job inspecting hospitals and nursing homes. Lynetta also found work. In July of '65, Jones filed to incorporate People's Temple of the Disciples of Christ, emphasizing the affiliation with a denomination. Within a few months, the tax board formally recognized it as a nonprofit. This meant that people who gave to the temple could deduct their gifts. There were members back in Indiana who had refused to move, but 50 or 60 were soon persuaded. Jones's sermons for the last months in Indiana had been menacing, but in rural California they became positive again. That was until Dan Mackey, editor of the Ukiah Daily Journal, directed his people to look into the new church, which alarmed Jones. After Jones had a closed-door meeting with the publisher and executive editor, the investigation into People's Temple was closed down. Because Jones had learned to deal with big city newspapers in Indianapolis, dealing with small-town newspapers posed no challenge whatsoever. However, small-town racism proved to be a bigger challenge. Ukiah and surrounding communities, population around 15,000, consisted of almost all white, working-class people, living far from urban areas on purpose. In 1965, major American cities were home to civil rights protests or protests against the Vietnam War. To residents of Redwood Valley, Vietnam protesters were unpatriotic, and blacks were seen as ungrateful people who didn't appreciate what they had. In no way do I support this opinion. I am just reporting the facts as they were in 1965. While the Church of the Golden Rule did not alarm residents of Redwood Valley because its members were white and they stayed to themselves, People's Temple was much different. They actually shoved their way into neighborhoods, and some were actually black. At first, the only blacks were Archie I. James and his family, but then more arrived. Resentment in the valley toward all temple members ensued because Jones rented properties in town. Many temple members wanted to return to Indianapolis due to the hostilities. Due to this, Jones resumed his warning of nuclear war, claiming it was less than 2 years away. Anyone who returned to Indianapolis, he said, would die. He claimed to have found a cave big enough for all temple members plus supplies, and deep enough to protect them from any nuclear fallout. This new plan required alterations to Jones's assurances that Ukiah was the perfect place to hide from nuclear fallout. Bombs intended for San Francisco, he said, might fall north of that city, or the winds he counted on to protect Mendocino County could change. The cave guaranteed complete safety, he assured his congregation, and there were no caves in Indianapolis. Although Jones described the cave in detail, he never took the regular members to see it. He said that it was too isolated to be reached easily, but reassured his flock that it was being stalked, and he would lead them to it when the time came. There actually was a cave, but it was much too small to accommodate all the people. As he often did, Jones was exaggerating. On the off chance that someone would call his bluff, he could have taken them to the entrance. Jones could always think of an excuse not to take them further. However, Jones knew that the threat of nuclear war would only work so long. If it did not happen, his followers would have no reason to stay in Ukiah. Jones did not plan too far ahead. In a speech at Bucknell University, his son Stephen said that people gave him way too much credit. Jones, he said, was not very big on forethought, and he mostly acted on impulse. We don't know if Jones believed any of his own quote-unquote prophecies, but we do know that many of them did not come true. Jones's true gift, besides charisma, was that he could divert his flock's attention to outside missions, thereby maintaining the illusion of infallibility. He soon realized that moving the temple to California was a mistake and started talking about moving again. He soon began discussing another move among his inner circle, either to Vancouver because he thought they had liberal attitudes, or Guadalajara because it was mentioned as a safe fallout zone in Esquire. In the meantime, Jones tried buying the town's goodwill through hefty donations to local charities, and Jones sought to meet with elected officials. He stressed that the church intended to contribute in all ways to the community and not take anything away from it. Because Indianapolis was a much larger city, Jones and the temple had only to be on good terms with most of the officials, but that did not work in Mendocino County. Thus, the temple tried to appease them with gestures of appreciation. So, members compiled lists of all prominent local leaders, which included all available information, and they started writing letters. Every time a lawman made a public talk, for instance, they would receive a letter of thanks, sometimes up to a dozen, depending on how important they were. As if that wasn't bad enough, each initial letter got follow-ups. For instance, depending on their importance, a politician would get a cake and a card on their birthday. This strategy, called cake diplomacy, actually worked. Once these cordial connections were established, Jones moved on to shared critical concerns. Temple members did not forget average citizens either. Congratulations and sympathy went out when appropriate, and even those who opposed the church were contacted. Jones knew that the animosity could not be stamped out altogether, but he did manage to make Ukiah more livable while he looked for another place to move. After establishing the church to the best of his ability, it was time to start growing people's temple again. God forbid it stagnate or even lose members. After all, the church's purpose was to bring socialist change, and more members meant more influence. For this, recruitment methods had to change. Residents were politically conservative whites, and with his full-time job as a teacher, plus his temple duties, there was no time for the circuit. Recruitment techniques had to change because the population in Ukiah was not the ghettos as in Indiana, but working class white people. Don't forget, I now have 2 merch stores. One is on my website, one is on Teespring. Both links are in the description. You may also donate via PayPal if you want to. Well, friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, press the subscribe button, and if you want to know when I come out with new content, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. My Twitter, Discord, email, PayPal, website, Teespring, and other links are in the description along with the source. Please leave comments in the comment section. Not only do I love hearing from you, but it also triggers the YouTube algorithm. Also, keep in mind that I choose my comments for my Saturday live streams from the comments on my edited videos. If you wish to get in contact with me, you may do so on my Twitter or on my email. Keep learning and searching for truth. Here are a few videos from my library. If you have not watched them yet, go ahead and watch them and tell me what you think. Until next time, friends, stay safe and goodbye.